Hello everyone, welcome to CivilPrep. I am Krishna Gupta, and this is a next session, that is lecture 4 of Perspective in Human Geography. That is, we will see that is for positivism or logical positivism, quantitative revolution, and system analysis is also there, but we will be looking at it at the uh, from the perspective of geography and majorly in the model theories and laws. Okay, now this particular part we will see that you can I would like to inform you first that you can download this PDF from your my account, which is present in www.civilprep.in. Okay, so this is one thing. You will also get certain questions for daily answer writing, which you will get in Telegram group. Okay, I would like to ask you first that how many of you have written the previous class answer? Okay, any one of you have written the previous answer that the question I have given yesterday? Any one of you have written the previous question answer that I've given yesterday? The question was, the dichotomy between determinism and possibilism is false. They represent complementary perspective rather than contradictory philosophies. Evaluate this statement in context of contemporary geography. If you have written it, you can say yes. If you have not, try to write this question today and we will discuss it tomorrow in the tomorrow's lecture. Okay. There is another question which I have put in the group. I will share it in this class also. That is, using concrete examples from India, demonstrate how areal differentiation principles applies to understanding regional development variations. This is for 15 marks. Also try to write this answer because this question is connected with the yesterday's topic, and the possibilism and determinism question was interrelated with the last previous topic that we have discussed on Monday. Okay, so how many of you are watching? You can say hi in the chat box so that I can know that you are here. Is there any problem in the video or in the voice? You can specify it in here. Okay, you can say hi so that I would be knowing that how many of you are here. Okay, so Rimla is here. She is with everything is fine. Other aspirants, if you want any doubts, any queries for the previous lecture, Urmila Naik 3644. If you have any doubts in the previous lecture, you can ask me right now. We will discuss it and then we will move further with the quantitative revolution, which is one of the foundation for the our topic for today. Okay, no doubts here. Shall we move ahead with the quantitative revolution? I'll just put this PDF. Okay, no doubt. Now, let's move further with the quantitative revolution. Now, we have seen that I need a page first. Okay, now what we have seen in the regional synthesis and areal differentiation. That here basically we had something which was more descriptive. It was majorly more subjective. It was majorly more idiographic. So because of the high subjectivity, the regional synthesis or areal differentiation, it could not develop laws. Okay, so laws were not able to be developed in geography. In fact, there were certain repercussions which have been seen as a part of the development of the this descriptive geography, because we have seen one of the issue with respect to the racism, the fascism, where the Germans have declared that Aryans is the most superior race and the other races should not be existing on Earth. So this was one of the part here. So what was done here to move away from this part? Okay, that is to make geography more uh, empirical. Okay, descriptive to empirical, that is based on data, then subjective to objective, then idiographic to nomothetic. Nomothetic basically means which includes the empirical data and evidences. Okay, and geography should be a law making subject. So this was basically achieved when number one, the logical positivism, which we can also see as a part of the scientific determinism, was brought into the geography. Okay, this we have seen that this was basically supported by Schaffer. Okay, and here came the quantitative revolution. So this quantitative revolution, this actually developed during the post World War II period. And this quantitative revolution, it marked the beginning of the modern geography. So these are certain things which we need to know about how geography basically changed its stance from the areal differentiation or the regional studies to the quantitative revolution, that is study of geography on the basis of the data which were able to make certain laws here. You might have studied about various laws, for example, the Crystallo's central place theory. Okay, I will write them here. Crystallo's central place theory. Then we have Weber industrial location. Then we have Whittlesey's agricultural location or agricultural regionalization. Then we have the various theories with respect to what we can say here. Growth pole and growth center, that is Perox and Bodiville. Okay. One more thing I would like to address here, that with the development of geography as the entering into the quantitative revolution, geography started to bring theories or laws from sister disciplines. For example, we have economy. Okay, for economy, we have the industrial location theory and the growth pole theory here. Then philosophy. Then we can also say the population, etc. So this marked the importing of the theories or importing of models from the sister discipline. So quantitative revolution, it marked the import of theories and models and laws also from other disciplines, which actually help geography to develop laws. So this is something which is important, and this happened first time with the geography subject. Now, this is one part that we need to understand, okay, before marking here. So in this particular aspect, what we will see, that if we will see the Kuhn and Popper diagram, okay, during 1900s, we had areal differentiation, and areal differentiation, it started to decline around in 1940s, and during the 1940s there was a rise of quantitative revolution. Okay, now quantitative revolution, it rose because of the certain issues in the areal differentiation and the changing stance of the subject of geography, which resulted in the development of quantitative revolution. So this is what we see here as a paradigm shift. It also went through the process, as we have discussed in the first or second class, that how a paradigm shift takes place with respect to the crisis situation, then there is a revolution situation, then the what are the undercurrent, we can say that were undercurrent paradigms, they came forward. Okay, so this is something which is quite interesting for the development of geography. Now, let's come to this part and understand this in more detail. So uh, introduction for the positivism and logical positivism, which became one of the bases. Okay, this is one of the foundation for the development of quantitative revolution. The transformation of geography from descriptive ideographic discipline into a scientific nomothetic field represents one of the most significant paradigm shifts in the academic history. This lecture we will see that it comprehensively examines three foundational perspectives fundamentally reshaping geographical thought: positivism, logical positivism, quantitative revolution, and the system analysis. Okay, system analysis is also important. This is present, system analysis is also present in this perspective part, and it is also one of the important part of the models, theories, and laws. Now, this perspective form the philosophical backbone of modern geographic inquiry and frequently appear in the examined questions also. This is also quite important for us to understand. Now, section 1, positivism and logical positivism. So here we will see that what was the philosophical foundation for the development of positivism and logical positivism here. Positivism emerged as a philosophical movement in 19th century, fundamentally challenging the nature of knowledge and truth. Okay, if we have taken certain examples that how human beings have come into the earth. Okay, certain theological will say that it is basically we are made by the God. Okay, if we look at the other perspective, the Darwin perspective, so he will say that there is a evolution has taken place, but how this evolution has taken place, that is a subject matter in itself completely. Certain thing will say that, certain studies will say that there is certain we can say that certain asteroids have come, and along with them they have brought certain organic chemicals which have intermixed over the earth, and due to which there was a evolution and fast evolution of human beings here. So there are various things which are taken into consideration. Now, born from the intellectual contribution of Auguste Comte. Okay, mark this person, Auguste Comte. We have also discussed about him in the first lecture. Okay, that is the development of the paradigm or the development of perspective. 1798 to 1857. Positivism asserts that authentic knowledge can only be derived from sensory experience and empirical observation. Two things are important foundation which is given by the Auguste Comte. That is the sensory experience. If I'm able to experience the moving air, I will be able to sense that what air is present here, how it is moving. So I need to gather certain data of how air is moving. What is air? What is the direction of movement of air, how it is moving from one direction to another direction, what is the basic nature of it. For example, as now with the various studies we can say that there is component of Coriolis force. This wind movement or the air movement, it is vertical, it is horizontal. So these things become one of the basic foundation for the study of the wind or air, which is more positivistic in nature, or else it becomes more of a poetry as per the descriptive science. Comte argued that human knowledge progresses through three distinct stages. Now, three stages are provided here. Number one, that is the theological stage. As we have seen that the God is the basic foundation for everything which is present over the earth. Here, the phenomena is explained through the supernatural and religious frameworks. Number two, the metaphysical stage. Abstract philosophical principles attempt to explain the reality. Okay, for example, metaphysical, like uh, there is certain power which is prevalent over the earth. It is not God, it is nothing, but yes, there is supernatural power which is moving the air over the earth. What is that power? We don't know yet. Okay, but it is connected to the earth. So this is something which is metaphysical. Okay, it is, we are not able to identify this particular force. So this is called as a metaphysical force. Therefore, this is called as abstract philosophical principle here. Number three, that is positivistic scientific stage here. The scientific observation and quantification reveals the universal laws. So now we know that what is wind, how the wind is moving. It is not metaphysical and it is not also created by the God, but it is following certain basic laws of science. Okay. So therefore, this is science positivist. Positivist. What is positivist? Can you explain what is positivism or positivist? We are studying about positivism, positivist. Okay. What is positivist? It is basically something which is explained by science, or it has certain scientific explanation. So this is positivism, where we see that Comte envisioned positivism as the ultimate form of human inquiry, capable of replacing religion and metaphysical speculation with objective, verifiable knowledge here. This framework provided intellectual justification for elevating science above other forms of human understanding. So, this is something which is given to the geography by the Auguste Comte, that is logical positivism. That is positivism. Now, this positivism, it went ahead with the logical positivism. That was, we can say that, like, possibilism has its extreme feature or stricter feature, which we call it as a voluntarism. In the same way, positivism has a more stricter version that is called as logical positivism. What it is, we are trying to find logic for any phenomena. Logic for any phenomena. Okay, guys, before moving forward with the logical positivism, because this is important for understanding this particular aspect here. What is a phenomena? I would like to ask you that what is a phenomena? Okay, two things I will add here. What is noumena and what is phenomena? What is noumena and phenomena? And with the same thing, I would like to ask here, what is objective and what is subjective? Please try to answer this question, this two important question. Then we'll move ahead. Guys, can you explain or what is noumena and phenomena, and what is objective and what is subjective? Let's try to answer this question. Then we'll move ahead here. Okay, can you answer this, Urmila or other aspirants? If you can go ahead with it. If you're not, you can let me know. I will move ahead explaining this phenomena here. Okay, explanation is needed for both the things, noumena and phenomena. And what about objective and subjective? What about objective and subjective? Subjective is perception based. Okay. And what is objective? And what about objective? Objective is opposite of subjective. Yes, I know that, but you need to explain that. What is objective and what is the meaning of object? Object or objective? Okay, what is objective? Can anyone else answer this question of what is objective? Okay, let's move ahead. Let's first understand the objective and subjective part here. Now, what is objectivity and subjectivity? For example, I have an apple. I have an apple. Okay. We draw. You might be drawing this apple since you were a child. Okay, I am also drawing it, but my drawing is used to be good, but now it is not very highly good. So when we see apple, we see certain things. Okay, it is quite common to us. For example, apple is from the outer side, it is red in color, reddish basically. Okay, second thing, it has green leaf. It is basically a fruit. Okay, it is fruit. It is we can say that it contains very high iron and other minerals. It has certain smell, which helps us to feel quite fresh. It has certain taste. How an apple tastes? It tastes sweet. Okay. Now, what we see here that we have certain information about an apple. Okay, we have certain information about apple here. So how we got this particular information and how it is like that you know certain apple which have all these characteristic, and I know apple which also have all these characteristics. How is this so? How is this so? We will see here that all this information or certain personal experiences have been attached. Okay. Okay. For example, I am a person. Okay, I'm a person and I'm seeing this apple. I'm eating it. Okay, I am trying to smell it. So what I'm using here, I'm using my senses. But you give this same apple to a child who is 3 years or 4 years of age. He won't know or she won't know that what this thing is, what this apple is, what this color is. Okay, what this color is, what this fruit is, what iron, what minerals it contains. Why? Because for that particular child, these senses or this apple, it is something which is new. Okay, it is something new. And when this apple, it is acting as an object here, it is acting as an object where we don't know about the explanations of various things which we see here. Okay, this is called as noumena. This is called as noumena here. Okay, same thing applies to the us also when we are grown up. Okay, if I will ask you about a certain explanation of certain quantum mechanics, so it is new to us. Okay, there are certain researches which are still going on, so it is noumena. Okay, you can also do certain researches, I can also do certain researches. So when we will be sharing our researches, we will be publishing it, and the people, all the group of societies, they will be knowing about it in the future part. But in the second context, I am taking this object and I am providing all this informations. Okay, I am seeing this from the object. Okay, this noumena, it is more personal. It is personal and it is experienced by senses. Okay, so this is something which I am experiencing by senses, and I'm providing detail that yes, this is red in color. I am seeing it in red in color. I am tasting it. It is sweet. It contains certain iron because it is getting reddish because of oxidation. Okay. Now, what I'm doing here, a person, he has never seen apple throughout his life, but he has read. He's reading about apples. Okay, that person has never tasted an apple, that person has never seen an apple, but that person, he has seen the apple in the books, he have read about apple in the books. What he have read here, that it consists of green leaves, it is reddish in color, it is a fruit, it is consisting of iron and other minerals, it get reddish or it get rust or oxidized, it smell fresh, it tastes sweet. Okay, so what these informations are, this information of some is something which is applicable to that apple from everyone's perspective. It is quite universal. Okay, so what information I'm providing here, it is quite universal and it is same for everyone. So when everyone is seeing at an object, when everyone is seeing at an object from the same perspective or same view, s- same view I can see here, same senses also. So this object now, I know that it is an apple. You also know that it is an apple. The characteristic of an apple, what apple is used for, how it is beneficial for the human beings, for the those things, what seed is it has, what is the characteristic of the seed. Okay, so all these things when we see here, it is basically an object. It is an object here. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so here what we see that we have something which is seen from everyone's perspective and it is same for everyone, so it is an object for all of us. It is not something which is now for an experimental, it is not something which have to be experienced for it to be perceived to us. So this becomes an object here. Okay, but when I am personally having an experience of eating an apple, seeing an apple, so I have something which is my personal view or my personal examination by my senses and my understanding. So here I might have a different perception. For example, I may see that certain apple which are green in color, okay, which are also red in color, which are we can say that the pale orange in color. Okay, I can have these perceptions also because I am doing specific experiments or I am having a specific knowledge about the various kind of apple. I have certain apples which are sweet, which can be sour, or which can be tasteless also. So this is my experience. So this is something which is more subjective in nature. So this is subjective. When I am using my own senses, my own knowledge, my own understanding to perceive something, so it becomes subjective. Now, when we see this thing here, I get two things here. One is objective, which is same for every one of us, which is objectivity, and something which I'm experiencing here personally. So this becomes the subject or subjective here. So I get an answer for the objective and the subjective aspect. Are you clear with this objective and subjective part? Are we clear with the objective and subjective part? Okay. Now about the phenomena and noumena. Now, phenomena and noumena, what we will see here. Now, there is same apple. Now, I have two conditions here. In the one condition, I have a child who have never gone to the school. Okay, who is just 5 years old right now and just in the start of his or her learning phase. And I have an adult like me who is teaching the subject like geography, science and tech, environment. Okay, who is around 36 years old. Now, the understanding of this 5 years old with respect to the various or any object, it will be very much different. And the understanding of a person like me of an object will be very different here. Okay, for example, the case of apple. For me, the case of apple. Now, this child, he has never seen an apple before. He is experiencing the apple for the first time. So, what he will do here, he will or she will try to experience what is an apple. How does it feel? How does it taste? How does it smell? Okay, so here he is trying to experiment and understand that what that apple looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. So under this condition, what that apple here it is the noumena for that particular person. Okay, so here what we see that certain characteristics, okay, it is unexplained to that child. Why it is like that, why apple is feeling like that, okay, why it is being touched, its skin is like that. So these are unexplained to that person. So that apple, it is noumena for that particular child. But when I am perceiving that apple, it is no more an experiment for me because I have already eaten apple. I know what are that particular apple's characteristics, how it tastes, how it looks, how it feels, how it smells. Okay, what are the benefits of eating an apple. So this is basically a phenomena because I already know that what is happening in that particular apple scenario. What are its characteristics? So I know already about it. So this is phenomena which is present here. Under phenomena, what we will see that we have certain characteristics which we still do not know. And it is accepted universally also. Something which are accept which we not know, it is also accepted universally. Something which we know, it is also accepted universally. But this thing is not same for the case for the new manna. Okay, this is not the same case because there is still search is going down on that what are the different, what are the basic things which are actually inside that apple which is not known to that particular child. So in this case what we see that something which we know and we experience personally, it is more of a part of the noumena where the subject is new to us. But when the subject is already known to us, for example, how winds is moving, what are winds, what are cyclones, what are tropical cyclones, what are temperate cyclones, what are difference between them, then what is an ozone hole? What is the ocean currents? Okay. What are the different floras and faunas? How this fauna and fauna they have evolved over time? What are the basic characteristics for the evolution of this flora and fauna? What is the succession of the plants? What is the succession of animals? How the speciation process takes place? How the extinction process takes place? What are the keystone species? Okay, so all these things what I'm talking about, all of these are phenomena. Why they are phenomena? Because they have been already studied and they have been already experienced, and their characteristics and conditions we know, and what we do not know is also accepted. What we know is also accepted by everyone who have studied about them. But for the case of the Numena, it is being still studied on. Okay, the various characteristics, we are trying to experience it through our senses. We are trying to experience the things that how these are actually taking place. Okay, and these Numena and phenomena, they are giving us a particular thing which is a reality. Okay, this phenomena and phenomena, they are being used to understand the reality. So when I talk about the reality, when I talk about the reality, if I speak to you about the climate change, so you might be knowing around 10 phenomena which is responsible for the climate change. But when we go for the understanding of more phenomena, when we do research, when we read journals, when you talk to certain people who are experts, you increase your number of phenomena here from 10 to 20 phenomena. So here, what we see that you know certain phenomena which is now increased because of your research and workings here. But for the researcher who is trying to experiment on one of the causes which is not yet understood, so that particular case is basically acting as a phenomena for that particular researcher. If that particular researcher is seeing it from the perception of phenomena, we are also seeing it from the perspective of phenomena for that particular case here. So this is a difference between the phenomena and the phenomena, okay, and objectivity and the subjectivity. Basically, this is important for us to perceive a thing which is actually reality. We want to understand reality, that how this reality is shaped, how this reality is worked here. Apple is a reality for all of us. How it is made a reality? By the information, by the senses, by the experiences. How this experiences and the sensory work is done. When that apple was perceived, it was smelled, it was tasted. So that helped us in shaping that particular reality, which is common for you and common also for me. So that is something which was subjective but accepted by everyone over the world. It become a universal, therefore it become that apple become an object. Okay, it was objectified because every one of us is accepting that this is an apple. If it is not accepted by you, it is not accepted by me. I am calling this apple as an apple, but you call this apple as an orange. So my reality of apple is different and your reality of apple is different. Your taste, your whatever your senses is telling about this apple is different, and for me it is different. So there is still more to be worked on this particular apple, and to understand it and to realize it for all of us. So this is phenomena and phenomena. Okay, understood, Urmila? Okay, any doubt in the phenomena and phenomena part? One thing is good that you are watching this lecture live. I don't know about a lot of aspirants who are just watching this lecture because the number of views they are increasing day by day, but they are watching these lectures mainly in the recorded format. So I don't know how they may be perceiving this lecture here. Okay, so no issues. We will move further here. Now, logical positivism, that is the stricter version. Now, logical positivism it developed in the late early 20th century by the Vienna Circle. Represents a more rigorous formulation combining countless empiricist foundations with mathematical logic and symbolic formalism. It created an apparatus instead to provide unambiguous scientific language here. So instead of using the scientific language and the medical expressions, it created an apparatus which was quite common to the scientific communities here. Now, core characteristics of this logical positivism. Number one, objectivity principle. Something. Now, I will read this and you will be perceiving this very simply. Science must be objective. What is objectivity? That is accepted by everyone, which is excluding what personal beliefs and political ideologies. Okay, personal beliefs is has to be excluded. Political ideologies also needed to be excluded here. The researcher functions as a neutral observer, documenting reality without influencing it. So if I want to perceive an apple, what I will do, I will take 10 researchers, I will give them an apple, and I will ask them that what you experience, what you feel, what you sense. So provide them in quite detail. So I will see that what is the difference between the 10 researchers and what are the commonalities which is present within this 10 researchers. So I will try to document them. Okay. Now, next part. Verification criteria. Scientific statements must be testable through empirical observation. If 10 if this 10 researchers they are saying that apple is sweet. So what is sweet? It has to be defined. It has to be documented. What are different tastes? So all these different tastes have to be defined very well and they have to be documented. Of which, for example, there is sour, there is sweet, there is spicy, and there can be various other tastes. So these researchers they will say that yes, it is sweet. So it have to be testable. Phenomena that cannot be directly perceived, that is, feelings, values, aesthetic judgments, fall outside legitimate scientific inquiry. For example, if I say that apple is fresh, so there are different criteria under which we will be able to say that the apple is fresh. Okay, fresh means it is just taken out uh, from the tree. Okay, it is plucked from the tree and this is an apple. Now this apple it went to the various cities and now it is present in my city and I am taking it and I can say that it is fresh. But the freshness of the apple which was just plucked from the tree and the apple which I have in my hand, which is just around 15 to 20 days older after the plucking, it is having different level of freshness. Okay, so this is something which is quite, we can say that it is quite not, we can say that it is not, uh, it cannot be documented. The level of freshness which is associated with the part of the filling here. So this makes it more subjective. So such things have to be excluded here from the study. Now, University of Scientific Methods. Logical procedures applied to natural sciences are equally valid for the social sciences. This is a very important statement. Challenging geographers' traditional claims to the exceptionalism. Now, exceptionalism, what Kant has said, what Richthofen has said, what Hettner has said, what Harshon has said. So they were saying majorly that this is a exceptional, geography is exceptional subject. But logical positivism, what it says that the natural sciences are equally valid for all the social sciences also. Then geography was considered as one of the subject of the social sciences. It was considered one of the subject as a social sciences. In your school days also, you might have studied geography as one of the part of social sciences, which consists of history, geography, polity, civics. Okay, so these were certain aspects which were covered under the social sciences. Now, next, quantification imperative. Mathematical formulation increases logical precision. Ambiguities in natural language are eliminated through symbolic logic and the quantitative expression. For example, if I want to express the climate change, how I can explain a climate change phenomena? I can explain it by various various data like the CO2 which is present in the air and its increase, methane, that is CH4, its presence in the air and increase, the temperature which is rising, I can say the relative humidity which is rising or declining, the moisture in the air which is rising or declining. So these become certain parameters for me to measure the phenomena of climate change. So by applying this phenomena, I would be able to apply or I would be able to measure this climate change. Now, what I will do, I will take this as a part of the variables and I will put these variables under a mathematical formula to exactly understand that how this climate change is being perceived and I can measure this climate change through these parameters. So this is what it is seen that there is symbolic logic is used and the quantitative expression is used for explaining any phenomena here, which will actually define a reality. Now, there is predictive function. What predictive function is? If I'm able to measure this variables today and I can take certain datas which was present in 1750. So I have another set of data with me. This is 2025. Now, for 2100, what I will do here, I will be able to put this in a mathematical formula and I will be able to predict the future. I will be able to predict the future here on the basis of which I will be able to understand or explain this reality of what will happen in future. So this is one of the important function of the quantitative revolution, or I can say the logical positivism. The science transcends mere empirical generalization. It must enable precise predictions about the future phenomena also. So this can be done by the logical positivism. Now, the impact of the geographic thought. The adoption of logical positivism represents fundamental reorientation of geography's intellectual identity. The traditional descriptive geography, focused on regional uniqueness, was critiqued as inherently unscientific. Okay, so previous part we will see that when the geography was a descriptive subject, okay, it was considered unscientific in nature. But what positivists did here? The positivist framework offered geography an opportunity to attain scientific legitimacy by adopting quantitative methodologies and developing universal theories, a path proving irresistibly attractive to geographic researchers seeking enhanced disciplinary status. Okay, we have already discussed in the previous class that geography after World War II started to be removed from the various universities across the universes of the world universities of the world. Why? Because geography was not able to solve the problems of the society at that time period. During the World War II, geography became one of the subject which also created issues. Okay, so this is something which was perceived, and this has made this positivist tendency try to change the stance of the geography from a descriptive to the we can say that nomothetic, or we can say the scientific improvement in the geography here. Now, now comes the quantitative revolution. So what we saw in the positivism or the logical positivism was filled into the bottle of quantitative revolution, which became the foundation for the development of hundreds of theories, models, and laws in the geographical subject. Let's look about it. The quantitative revolution here. The quantitative revolution (QR) occurring during the 1950s and 1960s in Anglo-American geography represents the most dramatic transformation in geographic methodology and theory. How it is connected? The World War II part. During World War II, numerous geographers, including Richard Hartshorne, were recruited into the Office of Strategic Services, which is a precursor to the CIA. If you have seen the movie Oppenheimer, there was the Office of Strategic Services where the physicists were also there, geographers were also there, and they were making strategy to how to win the World War II. Okay, this experience introduced geographers to systematic data collection, spatial analysis for strategic purposes, and scientific methodology applied to geographic problems. Young geographers like Edward Ackerman, very important, E.L. Ullman, very important, C.D. Harris, which were laterly associated with the population settlement geographies. Okay, so they were very important in the later part, were profoundly influenced by this exposure. Now, the disciplinary crisis, which we have already talked about, geography faced an existential crisis in the immediate post-war period. Universities questioned whether geography as a social science could justify its existence when natural sciences had demonstrated superior utility to national security. In 1948, Harvard University closed its prestigious geography department. This institutional threat motivated geographers to demonstrate that the discipline could achieve scientific rigor comparable to the natural sciences. So, this was something where geography saw a crisis phase and it started to be shut down. But later on, we see that because with the help of the quantitative revolution, this status of geography was able to be maintained in the future part. Next is philosophical support. The post-war academic environment embraced logical positivism as the standard for scientific legitimacy. Geography adopted this framework enthusiastically, viewing quantification and mathematical modeling as pathways to scientific respectability and disciplinary survival. Now, institutional endowments in three phases. Now, what happened in the later part? It developed the quantitative revolution into the geography. That is, bringing in laws, theories, models, and the various, we can say that, the phenomena into the geographical stream. How it was done, we need to understand that. The quantitative revolution diffused across geography following the Torsten-Hagerstand's diffusion theory. Now, here comes one of the most important person, that is Torsten Hagerstand. Okay, you have to know about him very well. We'll be understanding him in uh, behavioral geography, time and space geography. This will be taken up again. Initial slow adoption, rapid acceleration, and eventually plateauing. So this was one thing which was taken up by the diffusion theory. So what he said here, that initially what will happen whenever there is a certain sister discipline is coming across the geographical diffusion. So there will be an initial slow start, then there will be rapid acceleration, and then there will be eventually plateauing. So this is one of the path where we see that uh, adoption or the development of a model, or the adoption of a particular theory will occur in the future. Okay, here Iowa University will see, under Harold McCarthy's leadership, economic geographers developed sophisticated statistical techniques, notably multiple regression and correlation analysis. McCarthy's group demonstrated that geographical patterns of economic activity could be quantitatively modeled and analyzed. In the later part, University of Wisconsin, A.H. Robinson pioneered statistical map correlation technique, enabling cartographers to quantitatively assess the relationship between mapped phenomena. Okay, here we can also see an interesting term, that is mapped phenomena, where John Weaver applied multiple regression analysis to investigate climate influences on the barley yield. Okay, so this was an important part which was done in the part of the cartography. Similarly, in the University of Washington, the most influential center here, the institution fostered William Garrison's research group, which included the future scholars like Brian Barry, very important person, who tested central place theory applications in Seattle. William Benji, the author of the theoretical geography, is also associated with the settlement geography. D.F. Marvel, E.L. Ullman, settlement geography, contributed theories of urban interaction while visiting professors Torsten Hagerstand, very important person, profoundly influenced development of spatial interaction models and distance decay principles. Okay, so these were taken up in the as a study of the geography in future part. Then international development in Sweden. Hägersten basically he belonged to the Sweden school. Okay, basically he was uh, European school and Sweden was here. Hagerstein developed sophisticated spatial diffusion models and pioneered logarithmic transformation of space to visualize interaction, distance relationships. Okay. In the United Kingdom, Peter Haggett, very important person. Richard Shorley, very important person, produced foundational text models in geography, locational analysis in geography, and network analysis in geography that synthesize quantitative approaches. You need to remember all these names and the work which is done by them. Okay, why it is important? Because while writing the answer, when it is asked that what was the contribution of the Anglo-American school, you should be knowing it. What was the contribution of Anglo school or the British school or United Kingdom, you should be explaining that also. Okay, so these questions have been asked previously in the examination. I will be sharing those questions also. So you can take this up. You have to remember all these theorists and what work they have done here. Now, in the phase two, we will see that is the maturation period where there was a rapid acceleration of the development of the quantitative revolution. The revolution accelerated dramatically, spreading to universities including Chicago, Michigan, Northwestern, Ohio, and Toronto. The dissemination occurred through seminars, specialized conferences, training camps, and dedicated meetings focused on quantitative methods. However, significant resistance persisted. Who were the people who gave the significant resistance? Carl Sawyer is number one. What was the thought or perception of the Carl Sawyer? Which perception or thought was uh, developed by the Carl Sawyer? This question is made to you. What was the thought or perception of Carl Sawyer? Carl Sawyer was attached to what? He was attached to Carl Sawyer was attached to. We studied this in the previous lecture. Cultural landscape. Very good. He was a cultural geographer. Famously declared in 1967, he has given this statement. You need to remember this statement. I am saddened by the model builders and the system builders in the geography. So these were the words of Carl Sawyer. Because the quantitative revolution was changing the complete landscape of the geography and the approach to geographical studies. So even during this phase, internal criticism mounted. In 1969, William Bunge, okay, who is also pioneer of the quantitative methods, declared that the revolution has outlived its lifetime. When he's saying this in 1969. There were certain issues were also with the geography. What it is, the quantitative revolution, what were they? We'll be understanding them here. These internal doubts combined with external criticisms contributed to the revolution's rapid decline after the 1972 period. What were those things? We'll be understanding here. Now, in the phase three, transformative and legacy, which is basically a plateau stage. The quantitative revolution as unified intellectual movement effectively ended by 1972, but its methodology legacy persisted in modified forms. Behavioralism emerged as a successor paradigm, retaining the positivist commitment to scientific rigor and model building while incorporating greater flexibility regarding human perception, cognition, and decision making. Contemporary geographers continue employing quantitative techniques, particularly through the GI system, that is Geographical Information System, spatial statistics, and computational modeling, which were used to define, or these works were taking the work of quantitative revolution in future. I will be notifying this here. The aspect of environmentalism, that is the current paradigm, it extensively uses this quantitative revolution tools to understand the phenomena and issues with the climate change in the contemporary time also. So this is one of the very important gift. Even we can say that the plate tectonic theory, this was made a reality. Understanding plate or the development of the plate is very difficult, but this plate tectonic theory, this was made a reality by this quantitative revolution only. So the quantitative revolution, what it has given us, that is very much appreciable. Now, theoretical imports for what was seen in the geography, the Holy Trinity. The quantitative revolution involved importing established theories. For example, number one, Von Thunen's agricultural location model, 1826, explains agricultural land use patterns through distance from market access, production types arranged in concentric zone determined by transportation cost and distance decay. So these were certain things which were imported in this agricultural location. The model's mathematical elegance and spatial explicitness made it ideal for quantitative geographical analysis. Okay, so this is first part. Number two, Walter Chrysler's central place theory, which was developed in 1933, explains the spatial distribution, size, and spacing of urban settlements through principles of market range and threshold populations. Chrysler hypothesized regular hierarchical arrangements of urban centers following hexagonal patterns, optimizing service distribution. This is also an outcome of the quantitative revolution. Then Alfred Weber's industrial location theory, which was developed in 1909, was also taken into the quantitative revolution, analyzes optimal industrial location considering material cost, labor availability, and agglomeration economics. Quantitative geographers formalized Weber's principle mathematically, enabling prediction of industrial state selection. So this was also an important part. These three points or these three theories, the Holy Trinity, became core content in geographic circula and research programs, legitimizing geography as a science concerned with location and spatial patterns. So this became a trinity for the quantitative revolution for the future part. Now, we have understood here that how the aerial differentiation it rose and declined, and the quantitative revolution in 1940s to 1960s, it rose and started to decline here. Okay, so this we will see that how this happened here. Okay, and the criticisms and the paradigm crisis, why it happened in the quantitative revolution despite making geography a lawmaking subject. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, I will explain this in a better way. Now, the crisis and decline. Now, what happened in the quantitative revolution? Number one, what we saw geography as descriptive under the areal differentiation, it became a lawmaking, and it became more of nomothetic. That is empirical. And it was more of a not lawmaking, okay, empirical and evidence based. There was data collection and data analysis. But this data collection and data analysis, it became extreme. The lawmaking and nomothetic, it also become quite extreme. There were various schools of geography which started to grow up, and every one of them, almost every one of them, they started to make laws in geography, which were basically based on this mathematical regression, mathematical regression, and the statistics. What happened in the later part here? These schools or the geographers, they started to give laws, and on the basis of these laws, they have started to predict the future. For example, I am a student of geography. I am doing one of the researches. I am doing one of the researches. Okay. This research, it can either be done on field or it can be just data collection. And on the basis of this data collection, I am trying to put it in a model, and I am trying to frame a law. And later on, what this particular researcher has done here, they tried to see that what is the universal applicability. Sometimes it was, and many times, okay, I can say that 99% of times it was not applicable universally. But as it was a project, as it was a research, so it has to be given certain legitimacy. So this legitimacy was given on the basis of the data collection, okay, where the data were collected here. Number five, the reality which was developed by the quantitative revolution, this became distorted. For example, one of the researchers, he tried to see that what is the nutrition uptake, what is the nutrition uptake or intake by people in United States of America. So the number of variables which were defined, it was very much limited. So because it was limited, the variables definitions were limited. Because of this, what were the outcome? Outcome here was that majority of the people, or I can say that the 90% of the people who are living in United States of America, they are nutrition deficit. Because of this research, it was published in paper or newspaper. People panicked. After the panicking, they started to take medical tests to understand that what nutrition they are lacking. But the result of the medical test showed no significant nutrient deficiency. Because the test in itself, which was an evidence that there is no significant nutrient deficiency, it contradicted the variable research which was defined by the theorist here. Okay, so here we see that the variables and the theorist, it was contradicted. It was contradicted by the reports which were taken by the medical test. So because of these conditions, this not only happened with the medical field, it also happened with the food. We can say the climate change. We can say that the global warming. We can say about the various aspect here. So whatever the reality which was given by the quantitative revolution, it was distorted and it was far from reality. Okay, far from reality. Then here we have the condition of noumena and phenomena. Noumena and phenomena. So here, whatever the phenomena are existing in contemporary time, these researchers, they have taken this phenomena as a noumena and started research over them, where they tried to challenge the basis of foundational laws, the foundational laws of science. But they miserably failed. What we will see here, they miserably failed in this particular research and experiment of redefining the reality. So this was something which was quite hurting to the geography as a discipline here. This became so much extreme. In certain cases, it becomes so much extreme that people started to experiment over their own people, over their family, over the people who are living in their neighborhood. So this was something which became extreme in the quantitative revolution. That data is not wrong. The statistics are not wrong. The mathematical formulas are not wrong, and they are right. They are actually defining a reality which we do not know. But in reality, the things were not the opposite. They were the life is simple and the things are not that complex, which we are trying to define them through this particular quantitative laws. So thus what it was seen here, that there was criticism from the people who were working in the quantitative revolution for the quantitative revolution, and the people who were against the quantitative revolution. So both the part here, they contradicted and they criticized the quantitative revolution here. Now in the second stage, what it was seen that the human aspect, it was completely neglected. The human geography aspect, it was completely neglected. Why? Because logical positivism has said that the feelings, the subjectivity, they have no role to be played in the study of geography. It was seen that during 1970s, okay, 1960s to 1970s, there were certain issues which arrived in the over the world. Like number one, there was very high inequality. High inequality, like the people who are living in USA or United States of America or European countries. These are developed countries in those period also. But there were certain patches of land where the people were having poverty. They were facing poverty. They were facing health issues. Okay, in a certain locality, people were unhealthy. In the same locality, people were healthy also. So inequality in terms of income, in terms of food, income, food, quality of life, standard of living. So this was seen here. Poverty was very high. Health issues were there. Number four, the people were talking about the democratization of the world, living together. But over the same world, we see that there was war. War between who? Vietnam and USA. You might have heard about it. 1967, okay, 1964 to 1967, the 4 year period where the USA and Vietnam it went into the war crisis, okay, the war conditions where the Vietnam and USA did not go into any kind of conclusion and USA have to step back. So if the world is having such a good scenarios, so how these scenarios can have a condition like war? In the number fifth part here, the psychological issues. The psychological issues with people, it started to increase. People felt unhappy. These were certain issues which are related to the human beings. Okay, basically what we are working for, what we are thinking for, we are working, we are thinking so that we can be healthy. First thing, we can be happy. So being happy and being healthy are the two important foundation of the human existence. Yet these two happy and healthy aspect were deprived of. Therefore, this quantitative revolution, it was not able to give solution to these questions or the problems of the society which was prevalent in 1960s and 1970s. Thus, QR was very highly criticized. Quantitative revolution was highly criticized that it is not able to provide solutions for this thing. Therefore, we have to move away from this quantitative revolution and we also need to include the humanist tendency in study of geography. So this was seen as one of the important pioneer part from where we see that the behavioralism, the radicalism, the humanism, it evolved out of the quantitative revolution, not quantitative revolution, but it came out as the new paradigms for the geography here. Let's look at the same part here. The external criticisms. The global turmoil of 1960s and 1970s, that is Vietnam War, civil rights conflicts, environmental degradation, and accelerating global inequality seem to require geographic solutions. The quantitative revolution appeared incapable of addressing these pressing social issues. For example, I have a feeling that I am happy, I am a feeling that I am not happy. This is very subjective. Okay, how can I be happy? How can I not be happy? If I'm unhappy, give me money, give me food, give me travel, give me a lot of things which can make me happy. But after acquiring all those things, all those materialistic things, can I be happy or can I not be happy? So again, after doing all these things, after acquiring a lot of wealth and everything, I'm still unhappy. So therefore, what is the point of giving me these things which are more consumerism, which are most based to consumerism and capitalism, and still I am unhappy? Therefore, there is certain issues in the foundational basis of the term happiness. Okay, so this was something where the quantitative revolution failed to recognize this aspect here. David Harvey, increasingly adopting the Marxist perspective, wrote, okay, what he wrote is important. There is an ecological problem, an urban problem, and an international trade problem, yet we seem incapable of saying anything of depth. When we are saying it appears trite and ludicrous, in short, the paradigm is not coping well with its and it is ripe for the overthrow. So this called for the paradigm shift for the quantitative revolution. Internal criticisms, who were the people who criticize internally, even quantitative geographers recognize fundamental limitations. The development of geographic theory proved painfully slow. It was very slow, suggesting that quantitative methodology was not generating powerful explanatory frameworks. Critics noted that quantitative models relied on oversimplifying assumptions bearing little resemblance to the complex real world conditions. So, this is one of the important aspect which is needed to be highlighted here. That is the complex real world here. Now, the humanistic critics. What humanistic criticized here? Philosophers like Ufo Tuan and Annie Buttimer invoked existentialism and phenomenology to critique the quantitative revolution for dehumanizing geography, arguing that reducing human experience to quantifiable variables fundamentally misrepresented the richness of human existence and meaning making. For example, I have a belief system that I am following a Christianity, or I have a belief system that I am following Hinduism. I can be another person who I have a belief system of following the Hinduism or Buddhism. So, under these conditions, my following of a religion will actually give pave the way for that how I interact with my environment, what ideologies I will possess, and on what basis I will be working for the society. So these things were completely neglected by the quantitative revolution, that is the religion, the belief system, the faith. Okay, so which were also the foundation for the humanist or the geography. So this was also completely neglected here. Then Marxist critics. The radical geographers accused quantitative geographers of naive functionalism. Naive functionalism, like the functional aspect of the geography was very much missing. Okay, like claiming they inadvertently served the capitalist the interest by uncritically optimizing spatial patterns without questioning the underlying structures of exploitation. What this means here? For example, if I am giving a industrial location, so under the industrial location, I have certain industries. Now, these industries, they are present in a particular region. This region, there can be multiple regions or there can be continent. And this is the whole world. So there is one capitalist who is controlling all these structures, which is working for the profit motive. So these structures were based on the conditions which were defined by the capitalist. Okay, this was criticized by the radicalist and the Marxist geographers, that these theories which are provided in the quantitative revolution, that is the agricultural location, the industrial location, and we can say the settlement. Okay, in the settlement also you will see that there will be central business district and there will be certain patches of land where the only rich will live, and there will be certain patches of land where only the poor will live. So this is also identified by the Marxist geographers, that why the poor they are discriminated and they are kept away from the region where the rich are living in the contemporary time. So this was one of the questions which arose and which questioned the quantitative revolution techniques and tools to identify the regions and demarcating them with the rich and the poor part here. This was heavily criticized. Okay, this particular approach was heavily criticized, that quantitative revolution is institutionalizing. Okay, if I'm saying that because of these reasons here the rich will only live, the rich will live, and because of these reasons here the poor will live. So this is a basically if it is taken into the political policy aspect, so this will be institutionalized, the rich and the poor. So this is something which was criticized by the Marxist geographer. Now moving to the next aspect, where appraisal. Now, criticism will be there, but there will be certain appraisals also. And during the contributions, like despite the quantitative revolution's reject of a dominant paradigm during 1960s and 1970s, its contribution remained profound. Like number one, the theoretization of the geography. Before the quantitative revolution, geography was acknowledged as fundamentally a theoretical. The revolution created the discipline's first coherent theoretical frameworks, symbolizing in William Bunge's theoretical geography, that is contemporary. geography. Then number two, which remains fundamentally theoretical, a transformation directly attributed to quantitative revolution. Number two, methodological advancement, like quantitative techniques continue dominating geographic research by including statistical analysis, mathematical modeling, and computational methods remain essential tools. GIS and remote sensing represents quantitative methodologies, continued evolution, and expanded applicability. Now, I want to give a contemporary example for this part. Have you heard about the NISAR satellite system? Have you heard about NISAR satellite system? The aspirants who are watching this video, can you comment on this NISAR satellite system? This was just launched 2 to 3 months back only. So I feel that you might be knowing about it if you are a sincere and serious UPSC aspirant. Okay, NISAR satellite system. Okay, let's move forward then. NISAR satellite system is one of the system which revolves around the Earth. Okay, and it takes data in every 12 days. So what we will see here that this is a 12-day data, this is another 12-day data, and this is another 12-day data, okay, of the complete Earth. So on the basis of which what I will be able to do here, I will be able to calculate the changes over the Earth's surface. Okay, this changes detection, it is majorly done by the sensors which is present in the satellite. Okay, so this is a very important step which helps us to understand this changes over the Earth, and this is one of an important part of the quantitative revolution which is using the geographical information system. Okay, now number three, emphasis on the process. Now, this is important. The quantitative revolution shifted geography's focus from static description towards dynamic processes. The discipline increasingly emphasizes causal mechanisms, spatial processes, and temporal changes, which are an important part of the geographical study here. Then, number four, the disciplinary salvation. What quantitative revolution did, which was not done by the areal differentiation, that the quantitative revolution rescued geography from existential crisis of the early 1950s. By demonstrating that geography could employ scientific methodology, quantitative geographers established the discipline's legitimacy. So this was one thing which was very highly appreciated for the quantitative revolution, which saved geography from being discarded from the various schools of the or of the universities of the world. Okay, so this is quantitative revolution. Now, any questions, any doubts, any queries in quantitative revolution or logical positivism or positivism? If you have, you can ask right now. Now, if not, then we will move forward with the locational analysis. Okay, I'm waiting for your comments. Please make the comments so that we can move forward here. Any doubts, any queries, you can ask. You can comment in the chat box. If not, then we can move forward. Please do let me know. Any doubts, any queries, guys? Okay. Okay. Other aspirants, no doubts, no queries. We can move forward. Okay. You might have two links here. Link one is for the YouTube, and there is another link which is also adding you to my uh, the Zoom meeting. So you can be commenting on the Zoom meeting, and you can also be commenting on the YouTube. Okay. Now, let's move forward. So, quantitative revolution, what it did, it defined the geography as a lawmaking discipline. Okay. Here are certain things which were used by the quantitative revolution. One thing is very important, that is the locational analysis. Geography is what? It has two terms: geo, which is earth, and graphy, basically it is for description. But in the contemporary time, it is also taken as the study or science. So initially, which was description, it changed to study and science in the contemporary time after the advent of the quantitative revolution, which made geography as a social science. Okay. Now, locational analysis. What locational analysis is, why it is important. For this, we will just take a new page and we'll understand this in detail. Okay, after 1940s to 1950s, majority of the European countries which went into the condition of World War, not only European countries, but also Asian, like Japan, okay, American, like USA. So these were certain countries and continental aspect which were directly involved in the World War effort. So here what happened, after the World War ended, majority of these countries, they were majorly, we can say they were devastated. They were devastated because of the war. Then their complete system, like economic, agricultural, industrial, health, education, these things were came to the back foot. Okay, it majorly came to the back foot. So how these countries which are present here, they can be developed rapidly. Okay, what were needed to be developed here? The settlement, because the war have ended, the people who were engaged in the war, the soldiers, now they were coming back to their home. So number one thing, they should have home. Number two, they should be getting employment. Employment in terms of we can say business, or it can be certain other employments. Number three, they can have a good quality of life. So these were something where the people started to think on, so that the conditions can become better. So here we see that the locational analysis were used as one of an important principle for the post World War II development of the world, so that the world could be more, we can say, more better economical in the economic condition, better in the employment condition, good air, good food, okay, good entertainment. So everything should be better here. So for this, locational analysis become one of an important factor, where we see that the Ullman, Pristello, then we have Perox, then Rostov. Okay, all these theorists or geographers, they came together and they have given various theories for the post development of these countries, European, Asian, and the American countries. Let's look at it, how this was done here. So, locational analysis emerged as a central theoretical framework for the quantitative revolution. It focused on the spatial arrangement of geographic phenomena and the flow of pattern connecting them, like the settlement, that how the settlement should be made, what is the optimum and the best way of developing a settlement. So it was always taken around a CBD, around which there was development of the settlement. Okay, so this was seen here as an important part. Now, locational analysis assumes that geography's fundamental purpose is explaining the distribution of a phenomena in space, and the distance relationships structuring the spatial organization. Okay, so here we can see that this is a space, and from here, if we are taking different blocks here, so this is specifying us a distance. So the spatial arrangement and the distance between them, this has to be very well understood to make a very good locational system here. So the foundational assumption which was done for this locational analysis, the distinguishing features of geography is its focus on distance and location. Okay, space and distance. The fundamental unit of analysis became distance, the metric to use to determine absolute and relative locations of people, places, and phenomena. Okay, so all these three things were combined together to understand that how a space can be developed for having optimum location of the people, the location of the places, and the location of the phenomena. So here, one of the geographer, the Peter Haggett, basically he is belonging to the British or the Anglo school. Okay, Anglo or the British school, we can say here. So he has given six component framework for defining the locational analysis. So Peter Haggett, a prominent locational analyst in British geography, synthesized locational analysis into an influential integrative framework comprising six interdependent components. What are the six interdependent components? Number one, interaction. Number two, network. Number three, nodes. Number four, hierarchy. Number five, surfaces. And number six, diffusion. So these are the 6 points which were given by the Peter Hackett. Peter Hackett, one of a very important person. First, he was associated with quantitative revolution, locational analysis. In the later period, he went on with the behavioralism, okay, welfareism, and in later on, he was also associated with the Marxism and radicalism. So, a very eminent geographer, very prominent geographer, questioned the policies of the government, that is the British government, and implied the way in which the development has to take place. So number one, we'll see interaction here. So functional interdependence among places resulting from specializations. Okay, so there should be a interdependency among what, a place which is resulting from a specialization. For example, I am living in Nagpur. So Nagpur, a is a historical city also, which was basically one of the capital for the Raja Bhosle. Okay, so here there are 2 to 3 forts are present here. Okay, which was becoming one of the central unit for the administration in during the medieval and the modern period. So this is one of the specialization. But second specialization is also there. This is Nagpur is one of the city which is present between the west and east corridor and the north and south corridor. Okay, so people who want to travel from east to north, they used to take the path of Nagpur, and west to south, they also used to take the path of Nagpur as an important city. So this also became one of an interdependence for the transportation in the previous time. Now, here, the places become interdependent through economic and social specialization, necessitating the exchange relationship. So, the various kind of exchanges, which can be economic, which can be social, which can be political also. So, it used to take place in this region here. Now, when we talk about the network, the formal infrastructure, roads, railways, telecommunications, airlines facilitating the interaction. Networks present or represent the spatial expression of functional connection between these places. So how here we are saying that connection, like this is Nagpur, this is Delhi, this is Mumbai, this is Kolkata, this is Bangalore or Chennai. Okay, so they are connected likewise in a certain pattern of or set. So there, what is the interconnection? How this interconnection is being done? How they are developed? So currently we are saying we have highways which are also connecting all these important cities. Okay, there are quadrilateral have been formed. In fact, not only the road, the railways, the airlines, they are also facilitating very good communication between them. So therefore, these locations of cities, they become quite important to be serviced and to be worked upon. Now, next is nodes. The settlements where network intersect, that is nodes. Okay, so here we see that where the networks they are intersecting, here we have certain settlement. Okay, so these are acting as nodes here. So these will be the regions where the people will live because they have good economic considerations, they have good social considerations. Nodes represent concentration points for population, economic activity, and services. They vary in size and functional importance. For example, if you are going from your place to certain other regions, so you are going along the highway and there is a cross section. So in this cross sectional area, you will find certain refreshing refreshments, for example, dhabas, or you can find in the contemporary time certain malls also, small malls where you can get certain daily or basic amenities things here. So what this provide, they provide us as nodes where we can have certain kind of activities. So they will obviously vary in size and functionality. For example, if you're going from Chandigarh to Manali or Shimla, uh, there are very large nodes are present there. But if you are traveling from smaller tier 2 to tier 2 city, so it will be quite small there. Then hierarchy, the ranked ordering of nodes by size, function, or importance. Hierarchical relationship explains why some settlements achieve primacy while other remains secondary centers. Okay, now if there is development in this region and there are various nodes are developed here. So under these nodes, we will see that certain of these nodes areas, they will gain prominence and there will be development of very high settlement in and around this region. And after certain period of time, this particular node city, which was basically just a region where certain small economic activities used to take place, now this will become a primate city where the economic activities have now increased. But in the same manner, there are certain other nodes which are still present there, but they are not highly developed. They are still present in their original conditions. So this is the hierarchy which is present here, which explains that how a particular node it becomes a primacy, and while the other they become secondary here. Okay, so this is explained here. Now, surfaces. The varying land use types and resource distribution surrounding the nodes surfaces represent the areal extent of economic influence and the resource availability associated with the popular centers. So we can take this example from here only. For example, Nagpur, as I've talked about, this was just a node. But after becoming a node, it become a primate city here. So after becoming a primate city, we will see that the certain cities which are present around Nagpur, like Chinwada, which is present in Madhya Pradesh, or the tier 2 is Katol, or Wardha, or Amravati. So they have not gained prominence as Nagpur has got in the contemporary time with respect to the development of the city. But yes, we can see here that the economic influence, it is higher here, resource availability comparatively high here, and this center, it is very much connected with the other centers right now. Now, next here we have that is the diffusion. So when we talk about the diffusion, the temporal changes in the locational pattern. For example, initially it was just a single node. After a certain point of time, we will say that there was development of a settlement around this, and the nodes they increased here. And after a certain period of time, we will see that there was highly increase in the centers, and these centers they were connected with other important centers with the transport networks. So this is something which is achieved by the diffusion. Okay, this is achieved by the diffusion, that one important center is connected with another important center, and this can be traced in the temporal scale how it has been developed. So this is one important aspect here. This component acknowledges that spatial systems are dynamic with innovation, population, and economic activity shifting through the time. Okay, so this is an important aspect also signified here. These six components, as provided by Peter Haggett, integrated systematically constitute locational analysis as a comprehensive framework for understanding the human geography. The framework's elegance lies in its parsimony, that is, the complex spatial systems, are reduced to fundamental components which are measurable and analyzable through the quantitative methods. So, various quantitative methods can be analyzed here. For example, crystallis central place theory can be applied here. Then growth pole theory can be applied here. Then industrial location theory can be applied here. So these theories, they will define this particular development of nodes and cities or centers in a better way. So this is something which is achieved by the locational analysis, which is one of an important part and subpart of the quantitative revolution. Now, well, let's look at the locational analysis in practice. So under theoretical development, the locational analyst developed formal theories explaining optimal location pattern. They asked, given transportation cost, market locations, and labor availability, where should economic activities locate to maximize profits or efficiency? The quantitative answers emerged through mathematical optimization and statistical testing. Here, when we look at the empirical testing, the locational analysis systematically tested whether observed spatial patterns match theoretical predictions. They investigated whether cities actually distributed according to the crystalline hexagonal central place predictions and whether agricultural zones conform to the Von Tannen's concentric model. So this was something which was taken into the practice, and this have actually helped us to achieve something which is beyond the descriptional part, which consisted of empirical studies. Then we can also say here the mathematical studies, which made geographical more law oriented. So this is locational analysis. Majority of the fundamental things that we study in the quantitative revolution, it is locational analysis oriented. Okay, because geography is one of the subjects which is having the locational aspect as it's one of its roots. Therefore, this becomes one of an important aspect for the study of the geographical aspect. Okay, we will see a case study here. Okay, we have a first case study, that is the Von Tannen's model and Brazilian agriculture. This is a very important case study. This was asked in 2000s, that is 2001 to 2010, where the Brazilian agriculture model, it was highly developed, and it has resulted into the development of the country. Not only country, but it made Brazil as one of an important center for the agricultural activities. So background and theoretical framework we will see here. Johann Heinrich von Tannen, that who lived from 1783 to 1850, a Prussian landowner and economic theorist, developed perhaps the most influential location theory in geography. During the early 19th century, he observed that agricultural production patterns surrounding cities exhibit remarkable regularities, intensive dairy and vegetable production, adjacent to towns, progressively less intensive land uses at greater distances, and forest pastures at the periphery. How this was done, we will see here. Vontanen constructed an isolated state model, assuming uniform soil and climate across the region, flat topography without natural obstacles, single market city, farmers transport goods over land by ox cart to market. This is, we can say that the time period of Vontanen, it is 1783 to 1850. So at that time period, the development of the transportation network or other things, it was not very much highly developed. The rational economic decision making by the farmers. So model logic, we will see that the transportation cost increases linearly with distance. The perishable high value products like dairy, vegetables, fruits require proximity to market to prevent spoilage and minimize transportation cost. These products generate high returns per unit land, justifying the premium land prices near the cities. Okay, so this we can see, this is the market. This is dairy and farming. Okay. Then conversely, less perishable, lower value products like grains. Here we have agri, one, that is grains, and extensive uses pasture and forest. Okay, here we have forest or pasture. Okay. Before dairy, we also have this vegetable. So here we have one, two, three, four, five. Okay, there is another part also, which is the sixth part. Located at a greater distance where cheaper and compensates for the higher transportation cost here. So in this way, we see that the locational analysis was developed and tested for one of the cities, okay, by the Von Tunnel. Now, application to the contemporary Brazil. This was developed during the 1800s, but now we are in the 21st century. So, how this can be integrated or differentiated from the original theory and the contemporary times. So Brazil's agricultural production exhibits remarkable concordance with the von Tannen principles, demonstrating the model's continued relevance despite 200 years of the economic development. So this case study, it specifies that how this model is still applicable in the contemporary time despite being 200 years old. The southern region's dairy industry. The southern states, particularly Parana and Santa Catarina, concentrate intensive dairy production within 50 to 150 kilometer of major cities, that is Sao Paulo, Curitiba, and Porto Alegre. Dairy products requiring rapid cooling and refrigerated transport are exceptionally perishable. Farmers in these zones produce fresh milk, mozzarella cheese, yogurt, and other perishable products, accepting lower production scales and higher land costs to minimize transport cost and the spoilage. The zone exhibits high land values, capital intensive production, and narrow profit margins compensated by product freshness, commanding premium prices here. Okay, next, the Sao Paulo Strait and the coffee belt. Classic one-ton patterns appears in coffee production around Sao Paulo. Despite coffee's relative durability, production concentrates within 200 to 300 kilometer of processing centers and ports. So here we can see that this is Sao Paulo, one of an important city. Then here we have the dairy and farming. Around this we have coffee production. Okay. The higher profitability of coffee relative to grains justifies investment in transportation infrastructure and premium land values in the coffee zone. Coffee production requires significant labor investment and horticultural knowledge, providing comparative advantage to regions with established agricultural expertise near the urban centers. Then the Cerrado grain frontier. Okay, so here we have the grain frontier. The Brazil's interior Cerrado Plateau, which is 1,000 kilometer plus from the coastal markets, produces soybeans, corn, cattle extensive, less perishable products. These crops generate lower returns per hectare but requires vast land areas to achieve profitability. These zones exhibit low land values, mechanized production, and minimal labor intensity, precisely the characteristics one Thurman predicted for distant peripheral zones. The Cerrados development only became economically feasible through number one, technological advancements, reducing transportation cost. Number two, development of storage facilities, extending product durability. Number three, industrial processing, crushing soybean locally rather than shipping raw beans. Number four, government subsidies making frontier development economically viable. Now, this was something which is seen as a part of the contemporary application of the Von Thunen model. But yes, there are certain modifications which have been done in the contemporary time. Let's look at them. Now, modification to Von Thunen model. The Brazilian agriculture reveals important modification necessary to Von Thunen framework. Number one, infrastructure variations. Rather than uniform transport cost, river transportation, Amazon, Sao Francisco, dramatically reduces cost apart from the ox cart, creating elongated zones of intensive agriculture along navigable waterways rather than concentric circles. So previously it was like this. Now we will see that the development is like this. Okay. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the new pattern in which the development of the city is being seen right now, or the agricultural system is seen right now. The government intervention. Number two, the federal agricultural credits, research support, and infrastructure development subsidizes Cerrado expansion, violating Von Thunen's assumption of uniform economic conditions. Number three, technological change, crop breeding, heat-tolerant soybeans, soil improvement, applying lime and phosphate to acid Cerrado soils, and storage technology create new comparative advantages, enabling agricultural expansion into previously unsuitable regions also. Number four, export markets, international markets, Chinese soybean demand can override local market proximity logic, attracting production to port proximate regions despite local consumption patterns. So this is something seen which is quite different. Now, continued relevance in the contemporary time. Despite modifications, Von Thunen model remains remarkably predictive of Brazilian agricultural patterns. The model's fundamental insight, transport cost, influences location decision making, retains explanatory power. Brazilian agricultural geography cannot be understood without recognizing how distance to markets restructures production patterns, land values, and farming practices. Now, what quantitative verification is been done here? Quantitative geographers tested Von Thunen model using regression analysis, examining whether land prices decline predictably with distance from Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and other major markets. Research consistently confirms significant negative correlation between distance and land prices, with intensive agricultural zones exhibiting price gradients confirming closely to the one tenant's prediction. So this is also something which is also applicable in the contemporary times with respect to the one tenant agricultural models, that when we are present in the market, as we move away from the market, the prices of the lands it will decline. So this is the locational analysis and the quantitative revolution. This is one of the case study which is taken from the Brazil and which is important from the perspective of the one tenant model. Uh, this is the second part. Now, guys, my question is, if you have any doubt, you can ask to me right now. I can explain this part here. Okay, I'm giving you a homework. The homework is this question one. Discuss how logical positivism provided the philosophical foundation for the quantitative revolution in geography. This is an important question. Okay, try to write the answer for this. If you will go to my profile in this civil prep, you will find there is a the Telegram link. Do join the Telegram channel and send me the answer for this question in that Telegram channel in the PDF form, and we will discuss the answer in live evaluation and mentorship format. Okay, this will be a very good learning because we are studying something. If we test our knowledge, that how we are able to apply it, it will make our study more exam oriented rather than just gathering of knowledge. Okay, in case of any doubts, any questions or any queries, you can ask me here right now. In case of any doubts, any questions or any queries, you can ask me here. Okay, no doubt. Yes, Urmila, any doubt? Anything you want to ask to me here? If no, then we can conclude this session and we can move forward. In the next class, we'll be discussing about the next phase, that is the behavioralism, uh, radicalism, and humanist geography, which is quite important, also foundational for the geographical studies. You can go through the lecture. Okay, so no doubt. Okay, then we will meet tomorrow. Okay, try to write the answer for this question. Do join my Telegram group and we will meet there. We will discuss this answer in detail. Okay, so all the best and take care. Bye bye.